The irony wasn't lost on me. Chen Security Solutions, the cybersecurity company I'd built from a garage startup into a $200 million enterprise, was about to throw me out because I was supposedly a security risk. At least that's what my cousin Peter claimed as he stood at the podium during our annual shareholders meeting. My name is David Chen, and at 45, I was about to learn that in the tech world, the most dangerous code isn't always the one you can see. The board has reviewed the company's technical direction, Peter announced, his perfectly tailored suit a far cry from the hoodies he'd worn when I'd hired him fresh out of business school 5 years ago. In light of recent market changes and David's resistance to modern development methodologies, we've decided a leadership change is necessary. I sat quietly in my chair, watching the shareholders nod along. They'd been carefully prepared for this moment, fed a steady diet of concerns about my traditional approach to cybersecurity. Too focused on fundamentals, they'd been told. Not enough emphasis on flashy AI solutions and blockchain buzzwords. Furthermore, Peter continued, gesturing to my Uncle James who sat smugly at the board table, we've discovered some concerning activities on the company's development servers. Unauthorized access attempts, unusual code deployments. I almost smiled at that. Of course they found unusual activity. I'd wanted them to. Therefore, effective immediately, James Chen will assume the role of Chief Technology Officer, with full control over all technical operations. Security will escort David from the premises and his access to all systems will be terminated. As 2 security guards approached my chair, I thought about the real unauthorized access they hadn't found. About the code that had been running silently in the background for months, documenting everything. About the true security risks that nobody but me seemed to notice. Any final words, David? Uncle James asked, not bothering to hide his smirk. He'd been trying to edge me out since joining the company 3 years ago, bringing his Silicon Valley connections and promises of disruptive innovation. I stood slowly, straightening my jacket. Just one question. Have you finished migrating all our clients to the new security platform? James frowned slightly. Of course, your outdated system has been completely replaced. The migration finished last week. I nodded, picking up my laptop. Interesting. Good luck then. Is that a threat? Peter demanded, but I could see uncertainty flicker in his eyes. Not at all. Just an observation. After all, you're the experts now. As security escorted me to my office to collect my belongings, I passed the wall of client logos. Banks, tech companies, government agencies. All of them trusting us with their digital security. All of them now protected by James' innovative new system. My phone buzzed. A message from Emily Zhang, my former lead developer, who'd quit when James started pushing his changes. It's done. Everything's documented. They have no idea what's coming. I smiled, remembering the day 3 months ago when I first noticed the vulnerabilities in James's new platform. The backdoors that his rushed development had left open. The fundamental flaws that his AI algorithms couldn't detect. In my office, my former office, I took my time packing. Family photos, technical awards, the framed piece of paper with the first line of code I'd ever written. The security guards shifted uncomfortably, remembering how I'd helped them set up their home computers, taught their kids basic programming. Mr. Chen, one of them said quietly, this isn't right. The new system, it's been having issues. I know, Steve, I replied, carefully wrapping my old coffee mug. But sometimes systems need to fail before people realize what they've broken. My phone buzzed again. Sarah from our biggest client, First National Bank. David, their new security layer is throwing errors. James's team says it's normal, but I typed back a brief response. Document everything. As I picked up my box of belongings, Uncle James appeared in the doorway. No hard feelings, David. But tech is a young person's game. Your methods are just too basic. I looked at him thoughtfully. You know, James, there's something my father, your brother, taught me when he was teaching me to code. In security, the fundamentals aren't basic. They're essential. He waved his hand dismissively. Ancient history. Our new AI-driven security platform is light years ahead of your old code. We'll see, I said simply, walking past him. In the lobby, I passed the display case showing our company's achievements, industry awards, security certifications, client testimonials. Soon it'd probably be replaced with whatever buzzword-laden accolades James' new system could gather. My phone buzzed one final time, a message from my old friend at the National Cybersecurity Center. Monitoring in place. First signs of systemic vulnerabilities appearing. Timeline? I stepped into the afternoon sunlight, thinking about the code I'd hidden deep in the system. Code that would protect our clients while exposing the flaws in James' revolutionary platform. Code that was already gathering evidence of every shortcut, every security hole, every disaster waiting to happen. 1 week, I typed back, when their first major banking client runs their monthly security audit. Then we'll see who's really obsolete. Because in cybersecurity, the most dangerous vulnerabilities aren't the ones you find. They're the ones that find you. And James's shiny new system was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The next 5 days were a masterclass in watching a disaster unfold in slow motion. From my home office, I monitored the cascade of small errors that James's team either didn't notice or couldn't understand. The digital equivalent of watching hairline cracks spread through a dam. Another anomaly in the transaction verification system, Emily reported via our secure channel. Their AI keeps marking it as normal variance. I nodded, watching the logs scroll across my screen. The revolutionary AI-driven security system was doing exactly what I predicted, missing fundamental security flaws while chasing sophisticated attack patterns that didn't exist. How's the documentation going? I asked. Perfect. The monitoring system you built is catching everything. Every ignored warning, every misconfigured security protocol, every band-aid fix they're applying. The National Cybersecurity Center's independent audit team is watching too. On day 6, the first major warning sign appeared. A mid-sized tech client reported unusual access patterns in their secure data storage. James's team dismissed it as a training phase in their AI's learning algorithm. They were wrong. My phone rang. Sarah from First National Bank again. David, something's not right. Our security team is seeing patterns that match known attack signatures, but James's system keeps clearing them as safe. Document everything, I'd advised, and maybe have your backup systems ready, just in case. She hesitated. We're running our monthly security audit tomorrow morning. Should we be worried? Let's just say I wouldn't schedule any major transactions for tomorrow afternoon. The next morning, I sat in my home office, multiple screens showing various monitoring systems. Emily and our trusted network of security professionals were all on standby, watching and documenting. At exactly 9:00 a.m., First National Bank began their monthly security audit. It was comprehensive, designed to test every layer of their cybersecurity infrastructure that was now running entirely on James's new platform. At 9:17 a.m., the first real alarm sounded. The bank's audit tools discovered what James's AI had been missing for weeks: a massive security hole in the transaction verification system, one that could have allowed millions in fraudulent transfers to slip through undetected. But that was just the beginning. As the audit dug deeper, it found more problems. Critical security protocols had been misconfigured. Basic encryption standards had been implemented incorrectly, and the AI system that was supposed to be protecting everything, it had been trained on flawed data, marking legitimate threats as safe while flagging innocent transactions as suspicious. At 10:45 a.m., First National Bank's Chief Information Security Officer made the call. They were switching back to their backup systems, my original security protocols, immediately. By noon, 3 more major clients had followed suit. My phone rang. Peter, sounding panicked. David? We need to talk. The system. There are some issues. Really? I replied calmly. The AI isn't handling everything perfectly. This isn't funny. We're looking at potential regulatory violations. The Banking Commission has already been notified. I finished. Along with the National Cybersecurity Center, they're very interested in how a certified security system could have such fundamental flaws. Silence on the line. Then, what do you want? Check your email. I just sent the board a complete analysis of the system's vulnerabilities, along with documentation of how they were introduced and ignored. You might want to pay special attention to the section about James's development process, particularly the parts about skipping basic security protocols in favor of innovative solutions. Another call came in, a news network wanting comment on the story that was about to break. Major security firm's AI system compromises banking security. By evening, the full scale of the disaster had become clear. James's system hadn't just failed, it had actively endangered our client's security. The only thing that had prevented a catastrophic breach was the monitoring system I'd secretly left in place, quietly maintaining basic security protocols while documenting the failures of the innovative replacement. The emergency board meeting was called for 8:00 p.m. I attended virtually, watching James and Peter try to explain how they'd missed such obvious security flaws. The AI was supposed to catch these issues, James insisted. The algorithms were fundamentally flawed. I interrupted, sharing my screen to show the technical analysis. Because you forgot the first rule of cybersecurity. No AI can replace sound security fundamentals. The board members, many of them technical experts themselves, reviewed my documentation in stunned silence. Every vulnerability, every ignored warning, every arrogant dismissal of basic security principles, all meticulously recorded. Mr. Chen, the board chairman said finally, I believe we owe you an apology, and perhaps a job offer. I smiled. I'll accept, on 3 conditions. First, we return to a security-first development approach. No more rushing to implement trendy solutions without proper testing. Second, Emily Zhang returns as Chief Security Architect with full authority over security protocols. And third, I paused, looking at James and Peter. We conduct a complete audit of all executive technical credentials. It seems some resumes might need verification. 1 month later, I stood in my restored office, watching our teams reinstall the proper security systems. James had resigned to pursue other opportunities after it was discovered that his Silicon Valley experience wasn't quite what he claimed. Peter had been reassigned to a non-technical role, his dreams of disrupting the industry tempered by reality. Emily sat in her new office next door, leading the development of our next security platform, one that would use AI properly as a tool to enhance fundamental security rather than replace it. The industry had learned some valuable lessons. Articles were being written about the dangers of prioritizing innovation over security fundamentals. Regulatory bodies were developing new guidelines for AI implementation in critical security systems. And our clients, they'd stayed with us, impressed by how our original security protocols had prevented disaster. First National Bank's CEO had personally called to thank me for maintaining those hidden safeguards. Last week, I received a message from a young developer who'd worked under James. I finally understand what you were trying to teach us. Security isn't about flashy solutions. It's about getting the fundamentals right every time. I pinned the message to my wall, next to my father's old advice about basic principles. Outside my office, I could hear our teams working, properly testing each security feature before implementation. Because in the end, true innovation isn't about replacing the fundamentals. It's about building on them. And sometimes the best way to prove that is to let the flashy shortcuts fail on their own, while keeping a very careful eye on the fallout.